Hi, my name is Johanna Skoris. I'm a psychotherapist and an author of a self-help book called Standing Up for Yourself, The Art of Self-Assertion. In the past couple of videos, I talked about self-assertive techniques and such. Today I'm going to talk about food abuse. What is the real purpose of food? The real purpose of food is strictly nutrition. Part of the problem with compulsive eating is that we're using food as a sedative, or worse, we're using it as a sexual substitute. And there's a problem. This is how food addiction becomes a major problem. Look at the word addiction in and of itself. Addiction, say drug addiction, sex addiction, gambling addiction. Addiction means you are controlled by. So one of the reasons that we are eating compulsively is due to the fact that we're not dealing with issues. And this is also one of the reasons why dieting fails. Dieting does not address underlying issues. So the question is, what is an underlying issue? I said in my other video that we have two fundamental rights. One was the right to our anger, and the other was our right to pleasure. Now, if I learned to feel guilty about any sexual desires, if I felt fear at expressing my anger, then that means that my rights to do so, to at least acknowledge them, never mind express them, I don't have that right. So if I have judged those rights negatively, that means basically I don't accept my rights. It certainly means then that I lack self-acceptance. And here is the danger, because once you lack self-acceptance, doors to crime, to self-harm, and of course to food are wide open. And you become very desperate and despairing. Why can I never lose any weight? So we have to look at where did it all begin? Where did this need to have food act as a sedative or as a substitute? Where did it begin? Let's look at day one. We're in the body, mommy's body. We emerge into the world. We leave security. Now suddenly, for a brief interlude, we're in the cold, raw world. For just perhaps, 10 minutes, 5 minutes? Then we get the mother's breast or we get a bottle. Now suddenly, security, warmth, comfort, love. I mean, as an infant, a few hours old in the world, we don't have an intellect yet. We can't understand what is going on. We are all emotion. And this is everyone. There's no difference about who perceives what. As long as we're human and we come into the world with these emotions, we will have them forever. But right now, what we're learning is something that goes into my mouth is going to take away that stress that I experienced when I left mommy's womb and I entered the world. This is one of the reasons why we can have, say, rejection of our body, which I'll talk about a little bit later, and yet still allow ourselves pleasure in terms of food. The problem is when it's a compulsive need to eat, there really isn't any pleasure in that, but that's another story. So right now, I haven't learned as an infant, I haven't learned to judge any feelings. I'm strictly a little baby animal. I feel anger, I feel fear, I feel warmth, desire, love, in whatever capacity a 3-hour-old infant can feel. But that's okay. Now, so let's look at some of the ways in which underlying issues will show up. Let's say I'm an overweight husband and I've got a truly annoying wife. She tells me what to do, she's on my neck, she's controlling, she's bossy, but I never tell her exactly how much I resent her behavior. When I'm angry at her, I overeat. And then once I do that, I'm bloated, I hate myself, and I resent her. Now, in this instance, someone could, we call it, act out his anger. The man could become impotent. So while they are having sex or attempting to, he loses his erection, and now the wife is, can't you ever keep it up, George, or whatever. So now she is frustrated and dissatisfied, but he, at an unconscious level, is kind of thrilled. Good, I got back at this bitch. Well, he's hurting himself in the same process that he's hurting his wife. And this doesn't make sense, but it is unfortunately very common. We will do something against ourselves to get back at somebody who we may blame for our problems. Once we blame somebody, whether it's our parent, our partner, our boss, it doesn't matter who, we actually become attached to them by anger. And then the worst part is they continue to have the capacity to control me. So blame, attachment, and control all go together. And now it goes back to what I said in the beginning. My right to my own anger is not available. I have denied, rejected it. I'm afraid of my anger, and I don't know how to own it, never mind express it. And that's one of the issues that may not be getting addressed when somebody is trying to understand, why can't I lose weight? Why can't I stop overeating? Now, let's look at the attitude we may have about our body. Bear in mind, if I'm living from here up, that means from here down, I may have rejected my body. When was the last time you looked at yourself nude in the mirror? Did you like what you saw? Were you repelled? Are you disgusted by your own animal nature? How do you really perceive your own right to your sexuality? Remember, one of the fundamental rights was also the right to pleasure. I can maybe show passion over a chocolate cupcake, but when I try to be passionate in the sack, I feel uncomfortable. Just self-conscious, stiff, frozen, wishing it would get over. So bear in mind also, you had to learn how to reject your body. You had to learn to look in that mirror and think, I'm ugly, or I'm obese, or I'm disgusting. The body has no labels. It's just a body. It's anatomically an amazing piece of machinery, but that's another story. Once we have judged our sexual feelings as good or bad, right or wrong, again, we get into trouble. If I cannot use my genitals in a socially appropriate way, then the only avenue that I have to any kind of pleasure, and also keeping my sanity, is through the mouth. And the more desperate I become to maintain that connection, the more I'm going to keep overeating. Now, if we don't understand it and we still keep trying to blame family for what we fail to do, how are we ever going to change and get control? So what you really have to start to do is monitor your own behavior. And people can do this on their own. They can keep a journal. What did I eat? When did I eat it? How much did I eat? What caused me to overeat? Who actually seems to trigger my anger or frustration? Do I feel attracted to a coworker? And did I then feel guilty and run and buy a candy bar because I was afraid of my own sense of desire? Real therapy takes a while to undergo anything that deals with oral, anal, genital issues. I don't want to sound Freudian, but I will for the moment. It's all about your attitude about wanting to change also. If you don't like what is going on in your life, your capacity to actually undergo change is going to be fairly swift because you've looked at yourself and you said, I don't like the way I'm behaving. I don't like the way I look. My body is, say, not in proportion to my frame. I know many people say, well, I like being a little chubby, or I like this. And some cultures think that a woman, especially who has a little extra on her, is better. It's all about how you feel. Remember, I said in the other videos, we incorporate, we learn through imitation what our parents' values were. And they became ours if and when one day we say, I'm not so sure that I still believe in the same things that mom believes in or dad believes in. And this becomes a little bit of a tricky psychological separation. And we can feel very guilty that we are not honoring the same values that our parents have tried to instill within us. That becomes tricky. And if I feel guilty to try to assert my own values, Again, I may go back to food to offset that sense of, oh my God, I'm a bad boy or I'm a bad girl. Now, I don't want to depict mothers as being villains, but sometimes they are. So watch out because remember, mama was the first food bearer, whether it was the breast or the bottle. So issues with mama are very delicate. You have to ask yourself, how does my mother perceive me as either a young, handsome, sexy man or a young, beautiful, sexy woman? Is my mother competitive with me? Does she try to use food? And does she say that, oh, you're getting too skinny? Here, fatten up or whatever. And do I obey, thinking, no, I really don't want any more food? Do I not know how to say no? So we have to look at our relationship to our mother, especially. Dads don't usually get that involved in the food process, and don't forget, culture is also undergoing a major impact on us. There's about a 15 to 20% increase in men having eating disorders. Now, I'm not addressing an eating disorder right now. However, underlying issues that I'm talking about at this moment are still part of the core. Eating disorders go deeper, are harder to change, take longer, but it is the same problem of lack of self-acceptance, the inability to speak up. So I'm going to wind down with just a little bit of a summary here. Are you rejecting yourself? Are you able to maintain contact with those fundamental rights? And do you believe it? If you're saying it intellectually, I believe it in my head, but if my heart doesn't really believe it, it's going to take time. I showed you a little sign I had made last time in which you ask yourself every day, as often as possible, how do I feel? When I've had an encounter with somebody I may not like, or somebody who was rude to me, how did that make me feel? All I have to get used to is hearing myself express those negative feelings and allow them. See, that's a big catch-22. You have to allow it. Because remember what I said. I said, whatever you feel determines what you do. And the last thing was, you are responsible only for your actions, not your feelings. I'll just mention this book. I had a couple of people ask me. The Harvard bookstore in Cambridge, Mass. has copies of the book. I've seen it on Amazon and Barnes & Nobles for crazy prices, like 133 bucks or whatever. I actually have copies. If you wanted to write to me for $20, the book is $20. I can send it to you. That includes shipping. The book, I feel, is helping folks see where they are, where other people are. They can identify with some of the case studies. And as I said, in part one, I talk about the bad choices that I myself made. And, there's a huge thing. I don't know who the author was who said it, but I do like it, and I'd like to pass it on. History repeats what we never learn. It's a terribly powerful statement because I think it can impact all of us. We've all made bad choices and somehow continue to do so. So I hope some of the pointers about looking at your own behavior and really assessing your attitude about your own body. Because if we cannot enjoy our body, we become very dependent on oral gratification. And once that's happening, we're not in sync with ourselves as an integrated mind and body spirit person. So look at yourself. If you have any comments or questions that you'd like to ask me, please feel free to do so. I'm trying to address issues that I feel are somewhat apparent for a lot of people in this particular culture. I'm going to be looking at depression next. I'm going to look at sexuality, including homosexuality, and I'm going to be looking at self-esteem down the road. So I hope you'll tune in. Thank you. Bye-bye.